Think about the last time you were in a conversation and the words just stopped. That sudden silence. What did it feel like? Was it comfortable? Or did the air suddenly get thick and heavy? For most of us, there's a flicker of panic, a sudden urgent need to fill that space with something. Anything. A random thought, a question, a comment about the weather. It's a reflex, like pulling your hand away from a hot surface. We treat silence like a vacuum, a dangerous emptiness that must be filled immediately before something terrible happens. But what is it we're so afraid of? What do we think will happen in that quiet space between the words? It's a strange habit when you really look at it. We spend so much of our lives seeking peace and quiet, yet the moment we find it, in the presence of another person, we rush to destroy it. We've been taught that talking is connection, that sharing stories, opinions, and explanations is how we build bridges to one another. And it can be. But more often than not, it's the opposite. Our words become a shield, a carefully constructed wall we build around ourselves, brick by brick, sentence by sentence. Look at how we operate. You make a small mistake at work, and instead of just saying, "I made an error, I'll fix it," you launch into a 10-minute explanation, a detailed story involving your morning coffee, a distracting email, and the state of your computer, all designed to prove you're not incompetent. You're not really communicating. You're managing a perception. You're defending a fragile image of yourself. Or think about a first date. The relentless stream of chatter. We tell our best stories. We share our cleverest thoughts. We lay out our accomplishments. We're not trying to meet the person across the table. We're trying to sell them a product. The product is me. We use our words like a resume, hoping they will be impressive enough to earn us a second interview. But the real person, the one sitting there, with all their unspoken hopes and fears, gets buried under the performance. We become actors, reading from a script we wrote in our own heads. The tragic part is we believe this is how you create closeness. We think the more we explain, the more we will be understood. The more we talk, the more we will be known. And here is the great paradox. One of the fundamental misunderstandings in the old way of living. The more you talk to control an outcome, the less you actually connect. Every word you use to manage, to defend, to justify, to impress, it's a filter. It's a layer of paint you put over a clear window. You think you're adding colour and detail, but you're just obscuring the view. You're preventing a direct, felt experience of the moment. You're stopping life from happening in its raw, unpredictable, and beautiful form. Imagine trying to describe the taste of a fresh strawberry to someone who has never had one. You can use all the words you want. Sweet, juicy, a little bit tart. You can write a poem about it. But your words will never, ever be the experience of tasting the strawberry. In fact, the more you talk, the more you might distract from the simple, direct act of just eating it. Our words do the same thing. They are a constant, running commentary on life, but they are not life itself. And in that gap between the commentary and the reality, we lose each other. We talk about our feelings instead of just feeling them with someone. We explain why we're upset instead of just letting our quiet presence communicate the hurt. We fill the air with so much noise, so many stories about what is happening, that we miss what is actually happening, right here, right now, in the space between us. This habit of noise is not a personal failure. It's a deeply ingrained pattern in how our world works, or rather, how it used to work. It comes from a belief that we are separate, isolated islands that need to shout across the water to be heard. It comes from a fear that if we stop broadcasting our existence, we might just disappear. We fear that in the silence, we will be seen for what we are, without our stories, without our defences, and we're terrified that it won't be enough. So we talk, we fill the space, we keep the noise going, we chat with the cashier, even when we have nothing to say. We leave the television on in an empty house just for the sound. We scroll through endless feeds, absorbing the noise of other people's lives to drown out the silence in our own. It's an addiction to the filler, the static, the constant hum of explanation that keeps us from having to face the profound and sometimes terrifying fullness of an unfiltered moment. The old architecture of reality was built on these words, these contracts, these explanations, but the foundation is cracking. People are starting to feel it. They're starting to sense that the most important conversations are the ones happening underneath the words. It's the shared glance across a crowded room that says more than an hour of conversation. It's the comforting presence of a friend who sits with you in your grief, not trying to fix it or explain it away, but just being there. It's the moment a child climbs into your lap and you just hold them, no words needed. In these moments, a deeper communication is taking place. It's a connection that happens on a level that words can't touch. It's a resonance, a feeling, a direct knowing. We've just been conditioned to believe it's not real unless we can put it into a sentence. We are beginning to remember that the silence isn't an emptiness to be feared. It's a space to be entered. It's not a void, it's a doorway. The real transformation begins when you notice the impulse to fill it, and for just a moment you choose not to. You choose to just stay there in the quiet and see what happens. You choose to trust that your presence is more powerful than your performance. You start to see that connection isn't something you build with a clever sequence of words. It's something you allow by getting out of your own way, by letting the noise of your own mind settle down. You can finally begin to hear what is real. And what is real so often speaks in silence. By the way, our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. So what is this silence actually made of? If it's not an empty void, what fills it? It's full of everything that words can't hold. It's full of the truth. Think of it like this. Words are like little buckets. We use them to scoop up a tiny bit of reality and hand it to someone else. But the ocean of reality is vast. Our buckets can only ever carry a few drops. When you stop talking, you stop focusing on the buckets. You and the other person are just standing together, looking at the entire ocean. Silence isn't empty. It's a shared space where a different kind of information flows. It's a direct connection. Imagine two tuning forks, both designed to vibrate at the exact same note. You strike one, and the other, across the room, begins to hum silently in perfect harmony. It doesn't need to be told what note to sing. It doesn't need an explanation or a description. It just feels the vibration and responds. That is the communication of silence. When you learn to be quiet with someone, truly quiet, you stop listening to the story they are telling you, and you start feeling the truth they are living. You connect to what is real beneath the performance. Consider a difficult conversation with someone you love. The usual pattern is a battle of words, an escalating war of explanations, justifications, and accusations. You said this, but I meant that. You always do this. It's a loop that goes nowhere because you're both just throwing your buckets of interpretation at each other. Now, what if, in the middle of that fight, you both just stopped? What if you agreed to sit in silence for just 2 minutes? No words, just presence. In that quiet, the storm of angry words would die down. And you might start to feel what's really there underneath it all. You might feel the other person's fear or their deep hurt. You might feel your own defensiveness and realise it's coming from a place of insecurity. The real issue, the one that the words were hiding, would finally have room to surface. In the silence, you're not talking about the problem anymore. You are with each other, inside the problem. And from that place, a true solution can emerge, not as a clever idea, but as a felt shift in the space between you. This is learning to read the language of presence. The body doesn't lie. The energy in a room doesn't lie. When someone is telling you they're fine, but their shoulders are hunched up to their ears, and they won't meet your eyes, which do you believe? The word or the presence? The old way of being prioritizes the word. The new way, the one that is unfolding now, understands that the word is just the tip of the iceberg. Real communication is in the 90% that is unspoken. It's in the way a person breathes. It's in the pauses they take. It's in the feeling you get in your own body when you're near them. This isn't some mystical secret. It's simply paying attention. It's listening with your entire being, not just your ears. The great transformation happening right now is this shift from explaining ourselves to simply being ourselves. It's the move from performance to presence. For so long, we have believed that our value lies in what we can produce with our words, our clever arguments, our witty stories, our impressive explanations. We've been taught to perform our existence. But your presence, your quiet, undivided, non-judgmental attention is the most powerful and healing thing you can offer anyone. It is the ultimate statement of love and respect. When you give someone your silence, you are saying to them, I don't need you to be anything other than what you are. I don't need you to entertain me, or impress me, or explain yourself to me. I'm simply here with you. Your being is enough. Can you imagine what the world would feel like if we gave that gift to each other more often? If a manager, instead of demanding an explanation for a missed deadline, sat quietly with an employee and created a space for the real reason, overwhelm, fear, a problem at home, to surface. If a parent, instead of lecturing a child, just held them in silence, allowing the child to feel their own emotions without the filter of parental anxiety. This is a radical change in how everything works. The old architecture was built on the need for proof, for verbal contracts, for everything to be spelled out and documented. The new architecture is built on trust, resonance, and the direct knowing that happens in shared presence. It's more efficient because it bypasses all the static of the ego. It goes right to the heart of what's true. When you learn to trust the fullness of silence, you stop trying to control reality with your words. You let reality reveal itself to you. And what it reveals is that you are far more connected than you ever thought possible. you start to notice there's subtle currents that flow between people. You begin to understand what someone needs, not by what they say, but by the feeling they give you. You navigate your life with a new kind of compass, one that is attuned to the silent language of the universe. This isn't about never speaking again. Words are beautiful and necessary. It's about changing our relationship with them. It's about using them to point to the truth, not to obscure it. It's about knowing when to speak, and more importantly, when to let the silence do the talking. The silence isn't a weapon. It's not the silent treatment. That is an aggressive, loud silence, full of unspoken anger. This is different. This is a gentle, open, and inviting silence. It's a space of pure potential. It's the canvas upon which true connection can be painted. It's the rich, dark soil from which understanding grows. So the next time you feel that panic rising, in a quiet moment, just for a second, resist the urge to fill it. Take a breath. Look at the person you are with, and just listen. Not to the absence of words, but to the presence of everything else. If this video changed something in you, write in the comments, "I hear the silence." Write it as your promise. Nobody.